Welcome everyone to this episode of THE. We are here with JC, Sifu JC.
Thank you.
If I read correctly, international Tai Chi champion as well as Qigong instructor. Is that correct?
That is correct. Thank you. Yeah, this year it was a good year. Or last year, I guess now it's 21. You got your tea, I got my tea. Got the cordyceps, gojis, login, spring dragon, supreme energy.
Nice. I got some goji as well. Goji, cinnamon, and some regular Himalayan tea. I mean, we call regular tea, but it's from the Himalayas, which to me, that's a powerful space. So we'd all love to know a little bit about who you are, JC, and what your mission here on the planet is.
Well, my mission on the planet is to build the world's biggest healing center. That's my mission. I've had that dream since I was a kid, actually. My really good friends, I remember me saying it when we were playing in the playgrounds, basically, or when we were maybe around 15 or 16 and started skating and things like that. And now I feel like everything that I've done is I'm just here to kind of maybe start the foundation or get the ideas. Maybe it's even another 10, 20 years away. But I'm not looking to try to build something in my lifetime, because I want it to be bigger build than one lifetime, basically. So maybe in one lifetime, we can build like the outline of the foundation. Might take 50, 60 years just to build that. And then the next generation, or maybe my son or someone like that, comes along and builds the rest of it. And so in 20, 30 years from now, we have this giant healing temple that's, all cultures, all the healing modalities are coming out now, getting more popular. All the science and technology of healing can go into one big temple, and, all humans can have that access and resources to it.
It's such a powerful mission, and it's interesting how people are aligning with that, because my first experience with that particular mission was when I moved to Maui. Originally, I met one of my best friends now, Alton Sanders, for the first time, and we both had these very similar visions of exactly what you're saying, building that epic healing center. And it's so needed on this planet, and it's almost like the fortress, the healing fortress to do battle against the forces of anti-medical system. I mean, I don't even want to call it a medical system anymore. It's an anti-medical system if people are overweight and dying so easily, and it's right in our face that it's so anti-medical. And then you look at somebody like yourself or myself, or a Qigong master or a yogi who's living to 110 years old, vibrantly, healthily, happily. It's like the proof is in the body. The proof is in the embodiment. So I'd love to know a bit about what your day-to-day practice is like, what your teaching is like, and how are you embodying that practice? Because we can see it in your energy, but for people who maybe are just getting started with Qigong, how can you embody that practice and teaching?
Well, yeah, I had the center for like 6 years, and that was really fun. And but I'd say for me personally, that was like I was playing two roles. I was trying to be the Sifu, and I was trying to be the owner. And so in hindsight now, once I left there and sold the place and just been on my own this last year and a half, it really was better for me overall. I got rid of the overhead, and instead of just going to work every day and getting that grind, then, I was able to wake up in the morning, have my mornings to myself, do my practices, go out to nature a couple times a week, practice my Tai Chi and things out in nature. And that was like a big self-discovery, because I started to see, like, when you're in a building and you're reaching up, you're seeing the ceiling every time. You go outside, and all these practices were done outside for sure. They didn't go in their little huts and practice. They were out in the elements. And then I started training Tai Chi like on the side of mountains, and I started, and it started making my legs stronger, and I started seeing like an improvement in myself. So then I realized that nature is absolutely fundamental to Qigong and Tai Chi and these practices. And just about a few months ago, I found an article from the 60s from one of my teacher, Marshall Ho. And right in the article, and this was in the 60s, and he was saying in the article how he didn't like artificial training environments like studios, and he liked to be out at parks and, in nature. So that was what really has kind of helped me, is just to get outside. And I found even when it's 40, 50 degrees, if you're outside and the sun is shining and you're moving, that's actually really warm. 50 degrees outside moving Tai Chi that's like perfect weather. So that really this last year and a half has kind of really helped me kind of maybe go to the next level. Like I needed that for my own personal growth, because just training in a nice, flat floor and a nice wall, that seems like you would want that. But the reality is you want to be outside. You want to be on that grass that's uneven, because if you're doing your Tai Chi and you're trying to walk, you actually have to go a little bit slower on grass. You got to feel if you're on a little mound of ball of dirt or something. So you have to, there's more presence and there's just more depth to the practice. So the practices that I really, like are what I've found to be what all the old masters always did, which is the 6 healing sounds. And then I do that with the Bois Dajin. There's the standing version, of course, and then there's like a sitting version you can do at nighttime. It's kind of like yoga. It's kind of like Taoist yoga in a way too, where you massage. The idea is you massage certain body parts and you pop and you stimulate the endocrine organs. So pineal, pituitary, hypothalamus, for example, in the head. There's all these different ways that you can, stimulate that. And then stimulating the thymus and the thyroid. And there's like these tapping that you do. And once you get all the endocrine organs activated, then that's like your body's own drug manufacturing facility. If you can master the endocrine system, then you can master your body's ability to turn on your immune system and things of that nature. So usually, when I wake up in the morning, I'll go outside, I'll have some water, go outside, try to stand outside as much as I can, even if it's cold. I'll do the 6 healing sounds, the Bois Dajin. I'll do some inner smile meditation, and then just depends, the way that my practices are now, I change them seasonally. So like right now in the wintertime, I do more that massage Qigong. I do more Bak Mei, which is more like isometric martial Qigong, because they're warming exercises. And then, I'm really into the Wim Hof methods right now too. So I'm doing the cold showers. I just jumped in the shower because the time got off. I didn't do my cold shower now, but normally I do cold showers every day, about 45 seconds now. And then I've been doing those breathing exercises and breath retention. So my goal is to hold my breath for 5 minutes. And right now I'm about 2 minutes and 15 seconds, or that's my record right now. So that's what I've been working on. And yes, the school year, I took kind of a year off, and my as far as me teaching, I have my own home studio, and I teach about 12 private students a week. And I just love that way better, because, the classes are an hour and 15 minutes, but most of my classes go an hour and a half. Or I had a lady yesterday, we went 2.5 hours from an hour and a half class. So I like that I don't have to look up at the clock, and run over to the other side of the store or whatever. I can really just be present. Like I can be a better teacher, better quality. So this is where I'm at right now with myself. And my online business is doing great too. So that's been a blessing, to have that income coming in, passive income, and being able to, live the lifestyle I'm doing now.
Excellent. I saw you have the online business. You have organic store. Is that correct?
Yeah, the Naturally Organic Center. And the main thing I sell on there is I have a bunch of digital downloads. So I have my training courses. I have, I have some that I filmed before I closed the store. And then I have like meditations that I filmed, and then I turn those into digital products. And some are like $2.99, $5.99, $19.99, $49.99, all the way to $800. And those pretty much pop off every day at this point. So, I mean, I'm selling them in New York, I'm selling them all around the United States. And so it's really nice because those are people that I'd never thought I could really touch before.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's almost as if us practitioners of these mystical arts, these energy arts, such as professional psychics, professional Qigong instructors, Reiki masters, and yogis and people of that nature, it's almost like we're being asked to also integrate in our offerings a piece of our dietary lifestyle and our organic living lifestyle, because it's like, I have a really good friend, Dr. Joe with Vital Harmonics, and he's an example of an excellent, fully integrated, holistic Eastern Western doctor. But outside of people like Dr. Joe, a lot of doctors are sellouts, and a lot of doctors are failing us and failing people. Yes. So it's like, what I've noticed in following you for a while and my friends and my personal practice is, it's almost like the elements you're talking about, the nature is asking, hey, you guys are the doctors, basically. You don't have a $800,000 medical degree, and you haven't put yourself through that hell, but you know more, you have more practical information. And sometimes, like in the past, I've been to doctors, and I'm a massage therapist professionally as well. Like, I don't do it so much anymore because my psychic profession has gotten so prosperous and helping so many people prosper through that I've shifted more towards my oracle work, my psychic work. But I've been to doctors, and I pick their brain. I'm like, okay, I ask them about a specific muscle or a specific body dynamic, and most of them have no clue. But you go to somebody like yourself and somebody like myself, or pretty much any of the people that I've interviewed on the show, and they have a wealth of holistic health wisdom to share, not just one dynamic, to diversify. Just like, I love that you brought up that practicing out in the elements is so much more powerful. You can have a powerful internal indoors practice, but I've experienced the same thing when I'm out on the mountain, or when I'm out by the ocean, or somewhere, anywhere out in nature, even a little grass field in a park by a tiny little tree. You can really tune into that yin and yang, that earth and water, and that sunlight and air element. And there's a key that you said that I want to elaborate on, is the breath holds. I'm just getting into the breath holds with Qigong recently, and man, is like, we're not oxygenated. We're like,
true. That's why Qigong says, show me a person's breathing and I'll show you the person, because breathing is everything. One thing I want to add to that, the nature thing is, I've read that in books for a long time. And then, simplistically, I've went out and, I've just kind of, thinking, I'm going to gather some nature. But I'd say, like, this year, like in the medical Qigong books, they're really definitive about, like, to give you an example, and it makes perfect sense, a nice valley with rolling hills and beautiful flowers. Well, what kind of energy is that? It's very yin. So if you go out there and you cultivate that, it's going to calm you down. A mountain that's got jagged peaks and a lot of sharp things, that's very yang. If you reach up and you cultivate that, that's going to give you more yang energy if you're more passive, say, for example. So what I've really discovered, like, this year is, like, nature specifically, like, I see nature's energy just as much as, like, you make a tea for energy, or you have certain foods in your diet. Well, that's just the way that the nature is too. You have certain things in nature. A pine tree is very yang. It'll balance your energy. You connect with the pine tree, you absorb the energy, you drain it down into the earth, you filter it back through the pine tree, and you draw that into you. That's like a real energy, just like drinking a cup of tea. And so what I've found is those energies are very distinctive and definitive once you start to get immersed in them a little bit more. Oh, and yeah, what was your question? Sorry.
Oh, I don't even remember, but
Oh, I thought we were saying something. I was going to come to that.
it brings up a dynamic that I've been experiencing throughout my life, and I've been able to clearly put it into conceptual, intellectual form. Even though my good friend now, Francesco Garipoli, said the intellectual mind, we should go more into the intuitive mind. Mostly I'm in the intuitive mind. But anyways, something that you were talking about when you're cultivating that energy is I've done a lot of landscaping and organic farming in my life, and recently at the retreat center and collaborating with now Vita Lotuses, I've been literally taking pickaxe and shovel and moving earth, moving huge stones, clay, soil, moving that yin earth element, which in Chinese medicine and Qigong is your muscles. And my body is just like effing sexy, ripped, like amplified, charged up, and it's like only because I connected with that element in that way. If I had been like sitting there and like, oh, I'm going to connect to the earth element, it wouldn't have been the same as like literally getting yourself in the earth, in the dirt, pulling it in. And that's my piece for this particular portion, is that everyday activities can be enhanced significantly through Qigong and Chinese medicine wisdom and Taoist wisdom. So like when you're gardening, you're not just gardening anymore, you're moving the earth. You're, as in Avatar: The Last Airbender or Legend of Korra, you're earth bending. You're connecting with that earth element and you're moving it in a way that strengthens your inner earth element. When you're out in the ocean, when you're swimming or you're in a lake or a waterfall, or even when you're drinking tea or water, when you connect with that in a way that you know it's becoming your blood, you know it's nourishing your kidneys, you know it's detoxifying and hydrating your body, you know that the river is gonna, like that's like that really popular piano song, the river flows in you. Like all of these elements, the air, the fire of the sunlight, doing a breath hold and channeling it into your solar plexus is like.
Yeah, the five element, I just taught a thing on it that the cool thing about the five element is the five element theory that we know that goes like this is like post shamanic. I mean, it's come afterwards. It's more like the layman's version. The original five element from the Taoist system or the Chinese system is that the earth element is in the center, which makes more sense. You're the center, and then you just have the four directions or the six directions because you have heaven and earth, and you're always in the center. So later it came the creation cycle, which people think is, that's the positive cycle, but it's not, because if you stay on the creation cycle, you only stay the same. You have to go through the destruction cycle in order to find your path to heaven, which means that when you're born virtuous already. So if you only look at your virtuous qualities, then you stay the same. Only when you go through the destructive process and get rid of your anger and your fear and your worries and your sadness, and you go through that, then what's left is you get back to your virtuous state. So everyone wants to do the positive work. But like Dashi, when I learned under, Grandmaster Ba, he was the first person to say, look at your horoscope and look at your negative traits of your horoscope. That's what's going to help you. If you look at your positive traits of your horoscope, then that's only going to make you feel good about yourself. And that was helpful for me because I'm Sagittarius. And so I would look at my horoscope and be like, oh, I'm a philosopher and teacher. And it wasn't until he said, look at the negative stuff. And I looked over and it's like, you get too many projects going, you're boastful. I was like, oh, that's the most helpful information. And then he said, once you did your horoscope, you move on to the next one in concession, and that humans are all the horoscopes when you've mastered all the negative traits and you become the complete person. Same thing within the five element. When you go through the destructive cycle, you're trying to unpack the layers of anger and fear and sadness and anxieties. And, Once you do that, then what's left is your original state. So the only way to get to our higher self is through these, destructive letting go processes. The more that we just tout our good stuff, the more we just kind of stay the same. That's what he really taught us. But you were mentioning the Wim Hof breathing. That's what we were going to talk about. But one thing I thought when you were talking about moving the earth is the saying that Dashi used to say that said that city boys don't mess with country boys and country boys don't mess with mountain boys. And so there's a lot of knowledge in that, and that was part of like training out in nature. Because when you go out in the mountains, you train the mountains, you're higher elevation, you're taking bigger steps, you're on the side of things. And so this old saying in martial arts, city boys don't want to mess with those country boys because naturally they're just stronger. They're throwing the barrels of hay, and then the country boys don't want to mess with the mountain men because they're walking up in the high mountains and they might be moving the boulders around and they're even doing more work. So their lifestyles they're already ahead of these people down here. Like the city boy has to do like 10 times more work if you're going to work on flat surfaces to get up to here where this, let's say the country boy is. 100 times more work to get up here where the mountain boy is. So, that's the thing is if you have a practice, you have to kind of make sure you're working on your endurance and you're working on, your, like, your breathing. You don't want to just breathe normal because now that's just too shallow. That's not going to give anyone health anymore. We know that because you're bombarded with all these negative things in the news and things like that. So if you had the same lifestyle before and now let's say after COVID, then you're probably a little unhealthier than you were before. If you just have the same exact routine, because now you have all this additional like overhead, stress compounding, COVID and what is it, Delta and Omicron and who knows what's coming next, the Voltron, I just call it the fear virus. So then the names are trying to incite fear. But you know what I'm saying? I'm just kind of expounding on the idea is that you have to do more today than you did before.
Yeah, it's very interesting. There's a couple of yoga themes coming up in that I was doing a past life Akashic Records reading one time for someone, and a great yogic master came up in the reading. It was past life in India. And the person was asking this great Indian master, this great yogi, they're saying, why are you always so happy? You're always, even when you're not smiling, you're happy. And he didn't say anything. He said, I'll let you figure it out. And the woman had a big smile on her face coming back to him. And she said, I found out why you're always so happy, great guru. And he says, okay, yes, let's hear it. She says that you don't think in anyone else's mind, you only think in your own mind. And that's why you're so happy, because you don't have these external thoughts intruding upon your mind. And he said, yes, that's it. And to have that Shiva quality, like you were saying, like Badwa Jin is a destructive cycle of Qigong that I've practiced that you're talking about is it's so important to have that Shiva energy and not be afraid of destruction or death. And you and I both connect with the Phoenix energy a lot, which has to do with you completely die. You completely light that old self on fire and utilize those ashes to build up this new garden, this new temple within your being. And that's something that I learned from Hawaii, is that Hawaii is volcanic soil. It's extremely, extremely fertile because of that fire and lava energy that's constantly destroying and transforming that very slow earth element and creating with the water, and just constant death and rebirth with that lava, that Madame Pele, the lava goddess energy. So when you have that destruction cycle, it's something that I think you're actually the first person to point that out in all of these episodes, is to be able to to destroy the old self or destroy the emotions or thoughts or elements within your body that are no longer useful. And the last point I'll make with that is during my practice today, I was working with the metal and air element of the lungs. And I was destroying old rust, like rust is kind of represents our self-esteem being low or being out of practice, out of discipline. I was taking and releasing it out and then bringing in that golden, silver, precious metal, iron, copper energy. And it's just completely transformative to go through that destruction and destroy your anxiety and destroy your low self-esteem rather than being like, okay, I'm just gonna meditate and create only happy love town. I'm gonna just create on top of the bullshit rather than like, no, I'm gonna be like a mushroom and grow out of the bullshit, like composted like Mother Earth.
That's a good way to think of it, is compost. Yeah, when I studied with Grandmaster Ball, he always said the Bois d'Argent was the bread and butter. And did you ever go to the Lohan school? I mean, he had the giant 10,000 foot facility, Kung Fu, and all the internal martial arts, Bagua, Xingyi, Tai Chi, Qigong. I did a 10-year Taoist and Buddhist priest training with him. We had the temple. And everything that was there, he always said the Bois d'Argent was the most important. And so then when I, after all this journey, and I went to medical college, I learned a lot about Qigong. When I came back, still to this day, the Bois d'Argent is the most powerful because of what we're talking about. Those sounds in the Bois d'Argent are what we call chaotic resonance. So when you make that, that's actually like a destructive sound, but that's how it breaks down the tissues and the stagnation in there. So and some people do the Bois d'Argent without the sounds, but when I learned from Grandmaster Ball, we learned with the sounds, the 6 healing sounds. That's like the oldest of all Qigong. So if you do the Bois d'Argent with the sounds, there's no other Qigong that the lay person should do before that, because I always describe it like in Qigong, you have a 3-step process: purge, tonify, and regulate. And purging is usually with sounds or shaking. And so you have to purge first. And so it's like the analogy of the cup of dirty water. If you have a half a cup of dirty water and you add more water to it, now you just have a full cup of murky water. So you got to do these purging exercises. The Bois d'Argent is one of the best. So you purge the lungs of sadness, you purge the liver of anger, you purge the kidneys of fear. Shui, you do all these sounds. Shh. You purge the heart of anxiety, and then once you do that, now you're the empty cup. Now you come in and you do the inner smiling for the lungs and you build it up now because you emptied it first. Now you build it up and now you inner smile into the kidneys and you build up the self-confidence and self-knowledge. Now you smile down to the liver and you build up the inner or the tranquility and patience and kindness. Then once you do that, so then you can say in Qigong, you should purge first, tonify, and then tonify. Once you tonify, then you're like ready to regulate, or then you're ready to, I see it as like you're a creator. Because if you create anything, whether it's poetry or art, then are you creating with those negative traits? So once you do your Qigong, this is how the master did in the past. They would do their purging, their tonify, and then regulating would be like painting a nice, beautiful picture of a saint, because now they're in that energy. So the purging process is really important in Qigong. I see, some people have just purging, and so after a while, their Qigong will actually make them weaker, because if you do the Bois d'Argent for all the time, that won't make you stronger. That'll help you purge, but then there's no tonification in it. So the inner smile is one of the best tonification exercises that you can do. Our affirmations are another really great way to do tonification. And then regulation is like doing the microcosmic orbit and the fire path, or even just sitting, after Qigong, or, if you look at martial arts or any Qigong, the last thing you do usually is go like this and put the energy in your lower dantian. This is a form of way to regulate the Qi, because you don't want the Qi left up in your head, or you don't want the Qi anywhere in your body. So, like after martial arts, they always go when they pack the chi down into the lower dantian. Or after Qigong, we always do the Chin Village closing where we take the energy and we push it down, and then we tie like a little knot. We seal the energy in our lower dantian, and this allows everything then to sink and settle. And this is how all Qigong practices should end. I learned that not only from the college, but that's also how I learned from Grandmaster Ball, is this process. And nowadays you got these schools coming out like White Tiger Qigong, and they're really popular, and they got a lot of yoga girls look like in yoga pants, and they're doing these weird moves, and they're just doing like yoga, but they don't have any concepts of this purge, tonify, and regulate process. And so I would say for me in Qigong, that 3-step process is like so fundamental to understand. Or at least, again, you have a basic practice of you doing the sounds or you're letting go. Then you have the basic practices of refortifying, some affirmations, some positive things. And then you regulate by either sitting still or you doing some other internal alchemy. If if a practitioner is fortunate enough to learn from a teacher that knows some of those Neigong practices, that they can have them.
Yeah, I would say I agree with you 100% that it's completely foolish for somebody to practice Qigong without studying, even if it's studying with the Qigong practice, the elemental science of the East of China. Because when you have the elemental medical science, it's like knowing the physiology of your body before you practice yoga or do fitness. If you don't know the elements in your body, then you're bringing in energy, and it's just like, what energy are you bringing in? Are you bringing in a lake on top of your volcano? Is it like organized? Is there like a fire in your farm internally? And I personally started out with the shiatsu and tui na and Chinese medicine for massage therapy purposes. So when I got into Qigong with that same teacher, TJ Frank, is that elemental wisdom made it so easy. Not always like easy in the term West thinks like easy. It's like, okay, I just click a button. It's like, no, the grace that comes through of this purging in understanding the inner elementals of your body. You're understanding, okay, this is the wood within my being, the anger that needs to be burned and lit on fire with the fires of love and joy. I feel so much better, and I'm like transforming internally. But that type of stuff doesn't happen with like what you're talking about with the yoga girl and the yoga girl Qigong. Is like,
Or they're just, they're doing like this is Qigong, like crane, and like, okay, I still like it all because technically even walking is Qigong. Anything in moving the body is Wei Dan, which means external. So when you move anything external, even when people are moving softly, that's fine, but that's still Wei Dan, which means external elixir. And when you the idea is that you're moving slow and you're moving in that strength in the internal organs within. And Neigong, which is our Nei Dan, internal elixir, is where like the tongue positions, the 5 elemental tongue positions, the 9 positions of the anal sphincter. What breathing method are you doing? Are you doing natural breathing, reverse breathing? Are you doing 6-chamber breathing? So the internal method is like, everyone thinks they're internal, but very, very few people are internal. They're soft movements aren't internal movements. Those are external movements. So that's a big confusion. When people just do slow Tai Chi, that's still external. Until you have the tongue and the breathing and you have the internal Neigong methods, the elixir methods, then it doesn't matter what you're doing on the external. You're still just doing external stuff. So you have a great foundation because you learn the massage and the organs, and then that should be like in medical Qigong, that's what you kind of do too. You learn your elemental body type, and then like for me, I'm a wood body type. I'm tall and thin. And from there gives you a lot of parameters. You might be more, prone to anger. You might be prone to tendons and ligament injuries, and so you learn the body type, but you have a great foundation. Everyone should go through some type of foundation training. So like you said, when you get into a movement, there's more depth. You know what you're doing internally, like the muscles, like, okay, I'm locking the joints out here and, this is better. And so then your practice, has more quality into it.
Absolutely. And when somebody understands their elementals, that's where other fun practices come in, like astrology and stuff like that. Like I'm also a very wood person. I'm a Chinese astrology wood pig, wood boar, and born from two parents that were both wood dragon. So it was like a lot of my big thing is transmuting anger, the wood element of anger, into drive and confidence and growth and prosperity and kindness and compassion. And that's been my calling card, really. It's like when I come out with proverbial wisdom, or when I come out with some sort of prosperity or fruitfulness to offer the world, it comes from that deep, dark roots of I was pissed off at the world. I was like really like shaking my fist, full liver, overactive liver chi, po chi, going at the world. And then I got into Reiki and let out some steam with Okinawan Goju karate, and got into Chinese medicine, and then shh, shh. And then all that anger started turning into prosperity, started turning into branching out and connecting with the world. What is your Chinese astrology, by the way?
Well, I do what they call the 4 pillars. The 4 pillars are the Chinese astrology and are called Bazi, which means that you have to have the year, the day, the month, and the hour. And so if you just do the year, then that's only how the outwardly world perceives you. And so that's not going to give you a whole lot of insight. You have to know your month. Of course, everyone should know their month and their day, but the hour is like the hour that you're born is important, because that is like the inner dialogue that you have in your own head. So check out the 4 pillars. There's a lot of websites now. You can just put in if you know all those parameters, especially your hour. You can even put in your longitude and latitude, so yes, I'm a boar as far as my year, but I'm a tiger as far as my hour goes. And that makes more sense to me. So I have like these outwardly expressions of my boar, but then like my internal dialogue is more of like the tiger, especially if, you piss me off or things like that. Then so you get like this kind of like a broader insight to your, and the 4 pillars. I mean, I had a student, like an Asian student, that she was so good at that. She could just, from those 4 pillars, she could lay out your whole life, and she could tell you all the problems that you're going to have and all the challenges you're going to have. I mean, like it's a whole system. Just the 4 pillars is very, very profound. I'm not super good at it, but sometimes with clients, I'll do their 4 pillars for them to look, deeper into their medical history and to see if there's some traumas that might have happened during the gestation period, or, where they were born might have been a different climate, and then they moved away, and their body doesn't do well in the climate they're living and things like that. So there is some good information you can use from that.
Interesting. I'm so thankful that you brought that up, because I've been meaning to get into deeper Chinese astrology, because I've been looking for it, but that's it. So anyone who's wanting to go deeper into Chinese astrology, 4 pillars.
You just look up the 4 pillars, and there's a lot of websites now you can put in your information, and they'll really give you, some detailed astrological breakdowns.
Excellent.
That's why, like a true cycle of a lifetime is 60 years, because let's say you're a wood boar. What'd you say, a wood boar you are? Yeah, so that means like, you have the 5 elements of, wood, fire, metal, earth, and water. And so those are every 12 years. So like a true life, like the stars won't actually align exactly back where you're at until you turn 60 years old, because then you go through the 12-year, 5-year cycles, and that's where they get this 60-year lifetime. And so the Chinese believe that once you've lived 60 years, you've lived one lifetime. And then if you live past that, you're going to have the same challenges again. And you have the opportunity to make the right decisions or overcome those. So even though you're one element, you go through, in a lifetime, you go through all 5 elements to get back to that wood element. Doesn't return until your 60th birthday.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Similar to what my friend Alton was talking about he said in yoga, every 7 years you move up a chakra, and that's why people have the midlife crisis. And I have a funny story with him about this too, so he said, so every 7 years you go, so 1 to 7 your root chakra is all you're vulnerable, 1 to 7-year-old you need to survive. It's all about survival. The world is scary. A child is weak. Then 7 to 14 years old, you're in the sacral chakra, all about kind of enjoying life and pleasure and kind of friendships and connection. Then you're in 14 to 21, your solar plexus is all about kind of, okay, I'm trying to get stronger now. I'm trying to be able to compete with the world and be able to shine my skills, learn my skills as well. 21 to 28 is all about the heart chakra. So you're all like learning to love, having a relationship, and that's usually when people get married and connected in a more committed way, more devoted way to their life, their partner, their career, their friends. And then after that, 28 to, what would that be, 30, 35 is throat chakra. So you're learning to communicate all that which you worked through previously. Then you go up to 42, you go into the third eye chakra, thinking, creating, imagining something to create with all of this that you've done. And then you hit that crown chakra at 49. It's all spiritual. It's all like, and if somebody they might have their midlife crisis early if they haven't been on the spiritual path, because now they're at crown chakra and they're like, oh, I've been doing physical things all my life, and now I got to learn how to go beyond that. Yeah. Then you have, right after that goes back to the root chakra. So back to like a little kid trying to survive at that mid-age.
Interesting.
And
yeah.
My friend Alton is so funny. This story is like, he's like, oh man, I'm about to go back into my root chakra midlife, but no problem because I practice yoga and I know about the cycles and stuff. What does he get for his birthday when he switches back to root chakra? A one wheel. And he's riding around on one wheel. I'm like, oh yeah, Alvin, how's the midlife going? How's the going back to the root chakra, back to the childhood cycle going? Man, shut up.
That's cool. Yeah, in medical Qigong, you could use the 5-element system for that too. Like the wood is where, the element system starts. The wood is like springtime, or that's like childbirth. And then the fire is, yes, like young adolescence, so you just keep going along those levels and growing up. But the water, the last one, they actually considered the same thing. Is birth, but the birth is at the end, because then that's the time where you're in like the Bardo or whatever, you've already died, and there's like a cycle of you have to wait until you start that birthing process again. So, and then even in the central channel, there's a way to diagnose the body the same way as or the Dumai channel is every about centimeter or so is like all your information of your entire life is recorded, like in your spine, kind of say. And so there's really advanced, like that works on the 8 extraordinary vessels, are able to go up through that channel, and as you start to pull these things out, you start to release traumas and things for people. So it kind of reminded me of that, like inside your body is like your whole life. And like, there's a way to get in there and like release things and, out of your spine. And that's probably like the Kundalini is very similar to what we call the fire path. The fire path is because it burns up the acquired emotions. So like when you do Qigong and let's say you release some little emotions in you, then that's why you regulate at the end and you do the microcosmic orbit fire path, because that burns those emotions out of you. So then you don't, have those same patterns anymore. So that's a really important part of, Qigong higher level is that regulation process to do that.
It's so good that you brought up that microcosmic orbit. The fact that people aren't aware of this spinal spiritual battery, which we are and which we have. The cerebral spinal fluid, to put it really scientifically, is if you look at the ingredients, it's like super electrically conductive. Like it's phosphorus, salt water, all of these nutrients that are like really, if you plugged it into an electrical conductor, it would be loaded with energy. And that is why it's so important for us to share the wisdom of Qigong and Reiki, yoga and meditation with the world, because take, for example, myself, when in 2012, 2013, that great shift in energy caused in me a spontaneous Kundalini awakening. And it was, talk about Phoenix energy. It was like that fire channel was a really, I hadn't heard that before, but that Kundalini fire channel was like that. It was like a firestorm of all of the religious programming, all of the TV bullshit, all of the information within my mind, body, soul consciousness that wasn't aligned with those flowing channels of energy, those like blocks in the spine, which is the nervous system, which is our whole spiritual battery of our consciousness, is like, once that Kundalini hit the top, once that hit the top of the explosive, and thank the creator, thank the oneness force of the universe, the love of the universe, for bringing my Reiki master Hector to me at Guru's in Sable on Long Island, New York, because it's all of the social anxiety that I had before, all of the stress, unneeded stress, that even though I meditated every day in my life, it was still like something missing. Once I learned Reiki, once I even learned that I could heal with energy, this is the first thing my Reiki master told me. He said, "You're a healer. I can feel it within you." Then I realized, I'm like, this anxiety that I used to have is not like something wrong with people. It's energy. It's literally your body saying, "Hey, look at this energy. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to heal somebody with it? Are you going to heal yourself with it? Are you going to put it into creating something like a book or a song or a friendship or a relationship or an adventure or a meal?" It's like, this is all energy asking itself to make a quest out of your life, making it like a fun, thrilling adventure novel or a book or a movie or a video game, making your life into that. Your anxiety and your depression or your deep rest meditation is like, it's your consciousness, your energy saying, "Hey, like, you came here to experience life, not to be plugged into the matrix and let somebody else suck all your energy and kick back and put all your energy to the sports or TV or alcohol or senseless music or all of these nonsensical things." No, you can make a quest with that energy. You can take that powerful consciousness and say, "Hey," as Francesco and I talked about in the previous TNG episode, like, take that pen, that Kundalini energy pen of your life, and start writing. Start writing for yourself a beautiful story. Start creating for yourself missions and quests. And I'm getting very Sagittarius here, like my Jupiter is Sagittarius. So like that focused mentality, that discipline, that creative projects is like, if you're watching this at home and feeling like you've just been sitting on your ass watching Netflix and doing nothing with your life, you have unlimited potential to drop whatever you're doing right now, whatever attachments you have, drop them and go make an adventure for yourself. Go to that mountain that you always wanted to climb. Go to that uh, guru, a great teacher that you always wanted to learn from. Go, like, it doesn't even take money. You don't have to be rich. You could walk. You could take the bus. You could drive. You could get a van. There's all of these ways
Yeah.
to experience the world, and just because it's not like the old times where there was less borders or less roads or something like that, we can still make for ourselves quests in life. And for some reason, Qigong opened that up to me. Is like, I am a magician. I am a hero. I am all of these archetypes, and I could go out into the world with this wisdom and achieve goals, and not just sit around and say, okay, I'm just gonna make money and I'm just gonna do this or that thing. It's like, I want to know a bit about your experience with like the idea of a quest, the idea of a mission or a goal in life, and creating that sort of story for yourself.
Well, I've always been like goal driven. I've always been, I write my goals down, like once a week. I write sticky notes. But when I was 21, um, I I left. I took a like a 2-week journey to Tennessee on the road, and I lived out there with my friend for a year. And that was like such a big journey because I was able to reinvent myself, get away from everyone. That's why the Taoists, just like the Mormons, the Taoists have like this thing called renunciation of your parents, that you have to, at some point in your life, you have to get away from your parents' influence, or even your influence of your childhood friends, because they only know you for who you were as a child, and people will actually hold you in that box. So like you have to like make this journey, you have to go on, journey to the west or whatever it is, journey to the east. You have to get away from all your influences in your life at some point. So then you can like reinvent yourself and come back, and then like, man, you really changed, but it would be hard for you to change if you'd stay in the same situation. So like journeys are really important, a part of growth, and spiritual journeys. And for me, my dad, we owned a survival store for 50 years. And so that's all he ever did was, go to nature and hunt and fish. And so when I got older, I realized how lucky and fortunate I was to kind of live that lifestyle, going to nature and, going on these journeys. And now people they want to travel to India, but you could get just as good of a benefit if you just do your own spiritual journey in your own, in your own nature that's close to your house. You don't have to go to India to do it. You can go, for me, I can go out to Red Rock or go camping at Mount Charleston, for a couple of nights. Like that's the same. As long as I'm getting away from influence of people, is important to regather your thoughts and, think for yourself and think about it. People don't have any of that time anymore. They watch the news all day, so they don't have any of their own thoughts. Everything is like programmable thoughts. So I think my journey, started that way. And now I always go out to nature, and I started a camping business after I sold my store. And the first thing I had to get used to was like these 1.5-hour drives out to nature by myself, and because I never did that before. I'd always need to have like, a little girlfriend or someone to go with me. And then but through the pandemic, it kind of helped me. It helped me take those long drives out, be out in nature all day. Even, I go out to this place called LaVille Canyon. There's no service out there. That took a minute to get used to, but now, but just to get away and to go on those journeys is what, all the masters went up into the caves, all these examples of, this isolation. You have to have some form of escape, from the general population. are, the entrepreneurs now say, look around, the 5 people that you hang around with you're gonna be just like them. If you hang around 5 millionaires, you're gonna be the 6. If you hang around 5 people that go to the bar, you're gonna go to the bar. It's like, so you have to find really good influences around your life at the same time.
Yeah, it's so powerful, that wisdom that you just shared. I was thinking of that exact thing today as I was working the earth, as I was struggling the earth and getting that earth element strengthened, is that I was feeling into several people in my life who I really want to step up their evolution, like really powerful Jedi type souls that are still in that nest. I'm like, all you have to do is fly. Like, all you have to do is get out and jump that nest. Like, jump that nest and test out those wings.
Yeah.
Is the analogy I like to use. And you've done it, I've done it. Every successful person does it at some point in their life. The Taoist masters, I had never heard that, but it's so beautifully obvious now to see. It's these masters, they don't hang around in the nest. They're not saying, "Oh, mommy, what do you want from my life? Oh, daddy, what do you want from my life? Oh, grandma, grandpa, what career do you think I should do?" No, they're like, "Well,
Yeah.
maybe I'm from the south, I go north. Maybe I'm from the east, I go west. Maybe from the city, I go to the country. Maybe I'm from the country, I go to the jungle." And just shifting up that elemental energy allows you to expand your consciousness, literally. Like, say, for example, somebody's from New York, like myself. All they know is where they've been. Then they travel out to Florida. Now their consciousness expands to Florida. They travel out to Tennessee. They travel to the Blue Ridge Mountains, Colorado, California. Then you start going Hawaii, Japan, Africa, Europe, China, Australia. Then your consciousness is going to the whole world. And that's a profound shift that I can physically share and embody, not just mentally talk about, not just verbally talk about, but because of the travels that I've taken, because of the flight out of the nest and creating my own nest from these different places, gathering the sacred redwood, metaphysical redwood energy from California, and gathering the sacred koa wood energy from Hawaii, and bringing all of that to wherever I'm living, it makes me a powerful eagle or dragon or whatever, phoenix, whatever flight animal you channel, even if it's a little humble sparrow or a pigeon, a blue jay. When you jump that nest, you're forced to make a nest for yourself. You're forced to get yourself an apartment, get yourself a house, do an organic farm work, trade, all of these things. And you also get the benefits of the expansion of consciousness. Whereas now when I'm meditating, if I'm doing a healing meditation, it's not just for myself. I expand that out to the neighborhood, to the city, to the country that I'm in, and get that enveloped in the whole world. And you really can use that chi, not just for your own life. It will greatly benefit your own life, your own health, your own wisdom. It's easy to see Qigong masters at 120 years old looking like they're 60, doing full splits and back bends and stuff like that. It's easy to see the physical benefit if somebody's paying attention or wants to know. But the metaphysical benefit is you can completely change somebody's life without even knowing them. That you're in a vibrational state, you're in a good chi space, a good energy from your personal practice, or Reiki space, or yoga space, or prana space. You go into town, all of that gunk energy, you start being the clean water flowing through. You're not the polluted mainstream. You're the clean water flowing through, and somebody might not be settled enough to receive that healing. They might not be purged enough, but you start to cleanse, and you start to purge and refine and tonify that experience of life collectively, not just individually.
I always tell my students, like, like it's still true today what the masters say. If you want to heal the world, heal yourself. So I say, you do your Qigong practice with me or at home, then all you have to do is go to Walmart or go shopping, and you don't have to do anything else, because when you're standing in a line, the people around you are picking up on that vibration, and then they're going home and they're passing that vibration on to their loved ones. And so it's still the same way. I like in medical Qigong, we say there's 3 levels of medicine. The highest level of medicine is to help someone find their life purpose. So like a really big thing we do is these life purpose exercises. We have people write down, what are their talents? How would they use their talents in a perfect world? And what does a perfect world look like? And as they write these things out, this helps someone find their life purpose. And the second level is to help someone live every day in a little bit more virtuous state. So a little bit more patience, a little, less anger, a little bit more kindness, a little bit more inner peace. And then the third level of medicine is to treat physical disease. So kind of like what we're talking about, if you can inspire someone to live their life purpose, that little general ache and pain in the shoulder is gone. That little back pain, if you got a purpose and you wake up in the morning, you want to go and get done, you ain't feeling those little pains anymore. You're on your journey, you're on your life purpose. And then if you're feeling more virtuous, then like the world perception is better. So then by the time you get to those 1 and 2, the physical disease is almost gone. It's very limited. I was like, okay, well, yeah, my back pain's gone because that was like a fear in your body, or, stagnation or whatever it was. So I love that Qigong has all these like this is the 3 levels of medicine. This is, they have all these little parameters. They have, cycles are big too, because there's like 24 days in a cycle. And so like a learning cycle should be 12 days of learning and 12 days of revisiting or, studying what you've learned. If you learn for 24 days straight, then you don't learn that much, so Qigong has all these cycles and, and patterns to go with nature. And I've always done that. And, for 4 years, I was running my school according to the calendar. So like, the lunar calendar. So like, which, this year, February 2nd is the beginning of like the year really, because that's when you get your first full moon, and that's when Jupiter is in certain hemisphere. And so then that's the cycle of the planet. So if you start new things like that, you have courses that start on the new moon, then you're more likely to get people. If you have one-off events, then you do that on a full moon. And so as you use nature and you use cycles and you use all these things together, then, life becomes easier. And even looking at the day is like a year. So like the morning at 6 a.m. is like springtime, and the afternoon at 12 is summer, and 6 p.m. is fall, and 12 midnight is the winter. And so as you look at the day like a cycle, and you look at the year like a cycle, and you follow all these cycles, then nature is now working with you in your business and your health and your relationships, rather than you people just oblivious to that, and they start things and they do things. And then you, like, for example, January 1st would be the absolute worst time to make New Year's resolutions energetically. January, in the middle of winter time, when your body is still storing and holding on to things, people want to start new regimes. That's why no one can do it. But if you waited until the springtime, when the things are growing with you and the grass is growing and the new things and the flowers and the leaves are coming on the tree, and you're starting a new regime, now nature is flowing with you to help you process that and stay on that cycle too. So that's what I've really started to use now in my lifestyle, is to use these cycles more, and things get easier. And I would sure enough bet that the billionaires and the corporations are absolutely using these principles. And that's why they've made it to those levels. And the Vatican and these dark other religions absolutely use these principles and tell everyone else to stay away from them. right? Because then they're dark, but they're using them themselves, but they tell everyone else to stay away because that's how they keep their powers. They use these natural cycles of the planet. And when you incorporate that with your Qigong, and your Qigong changes cyclically through the year, and there was only one original diet, which was called the Azoth diet, Azoth. That's the Taoist diet. And so there was only one diet that could have ever been before, and that was the diet of the season. So in springtime, you ate the little fresh green spriggets. In the summertime, you ate the fruit. The fall time, you ate the squashes. In the wintertime, that's when you might have had some meat and things like that, or the root vegetables from the fall that could last through the wintertime. There was only one diet originally, and that was the diet that everyone followed, because there wasn't any refrigerators or freezers, or people didn't know how to preserve originally and things like that. So so I just look. What's that?
That when you have that true north, that purpose, that's the true power of a really good psychic. That's the power of a professional psychic. Like, that's why I'm an elite level psychic with a pure 5-star, only good reviews rating, is because I blow psychologists out the water, because I can tell somebody's nature. I can tell somebody their purpose, and I have over and over again. And when people connect with their nature and their purpose, then you get that what you're talking about. Then they're connecting with nature automatically because they're connecting with their nature. And then they're thriving, and it's easy, abundance of energy. They don't have this limited energy to try to do something that's in somebody else's nature. They're not a salmon trying to climb up a tree like a monkey and do all of these things. No, if they're a salmon, they're swimming upriver. If they're a monkey, they're climbing up a tree. And
no, you said something really cool though, which I'd never thought of that, which is when someone's living their life purpose, they're in their nature, so the nature is like helping them more. That was a good one. I like that.
Absolutely. I mean, I went to the first time I went to university, I went to pre-law school. Perfect grades, everything immaculate, but it wasn't in my nature. And I had that Kundalini awakening, and it's like, And then I had a prophetic psychic vision that if I had this vivid dream of being that lawyer, having the fancy house in New York City and the fancy house in Florida, but I was depressed and miserable. That future potential self dropped out, became a wizard. But then for a brief moment of time, I went back to try a psychology degree. And the moment I sat in that classroom, I never went back. And then because the teacher was blunt, honest, a-hole. I mean, and I'm so thankful that he was authentic, because he sat down, he put this expensive textbook, which I didn't buy, on the table. He said, look, you think that you're gonna go to school and get a 5-year degree and become a psychologist and be wealthy? You're not. You're gonna go to those 5 years, then you go, oh wait, you need to get a master's degree. Then you study another year or so, get your master's degree. Oh, okay, now you can have your own practice, right? No, you need a PhD, you need a doctorate. So you gotta go back another 1 or 2 years, and by the time you finish that, that's almost $1 million. You go to 7, 8 years doctorate, that's about $700,000, $800,000. You could have a house, you could have a thriving business. And the underlying factor of that is inside that textbook is bullshit. Inside that textbook is Sigmund Freud, who had this weird complex where he was like wanting to bone his mom and all of these, like he was like electrocuting monkeys and stuff like this. Like, this dude was psychotic himself, and he was the framework for this. And first class, I said, this is bullshit. I'm not. First of all, I want to be receiving $800,000 so I can invest in organic farms and healing temples and stuff like that. And spending it towards anything other than nature system. Second of all, this dude Freud is effed up in the head, and he's trying to tell other people what to do with their brains. And third of all, I looked at the results. I'm always a results-based person. I look at You look at a Qigong master, a yoga master, they're 100 years old and healthy. You look at a Western psychologist, 60-year-old, heart attack, dead. 7 years old, stroke, dead. When they're in graves. So I don't want to be in a grave at that age. I want to be teaching Qigong on Wudang Mountain at that age with the masters of old. And so I'm like, that Western psychology is bullshit. I don't care what anyone says. It's bullshit to make someone pay $100,000 for 1 year, 2 years of school.
Well, that's kind of dying too, you know.
They didn't learn anything. They didn't learn anything about their consciousness, and they're conforming to these delusional Western European judgmental ways. And that third reason I kind of just remember to get the nail on the head is, where's the results? People are going to psychologists, psychiatrists, and they're still depressed. They go there and they whine and they bitch and they moan for hours. They don't get any results. You go to 10 yoga classes, 10 Qigong classes, 10 good meditation classes, 1 psychic reading. Like 80
Right,
years.
you have to be a part of that's what I always said when I did treatments on people. I always said I worked on a lot of people. In 5 years, I had like 500 clients when I had the store. And I always tell people that, you know, like, you have to be a part of the healing. I'm not healing you. I'm guiding you at the most, but you have to take part in your own healing. As we're, like you said, some people just want the doctor and they don't want to take part in their own healing. They just want to be healed and they don't want to do the work. Like you said, it's like 10 Qigong or yoga classes would be way better. You're stretching, you're letting those things out than just going and telling a psychologist your problems. So I'm glad for that teacher. He got you on the right path.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, I wanted to hit on this in a mini video today, but I hit on it now. It's like that classic phrase that I didn't learn till maybe recently. I think in my teenage years, I kind of understood it because I was sassy and punk, all these things, but nice guys finish last. Nice guys finish last because niceness is fake. Kindness is real. Kindness is something like good men like you and I cultivate over time, over practice, but we both understand and are honest with each other and with the world that we're also assholes. Like, I'm also just as equally, if you flip the perspective, an awful person as I am a sagely benevolent person. We both have that light and shadow side. So to be nice is, people don't like it. People don't like it in relationship. They don't like it in business.
No, you have to be the spiritual warrior is the middle.
For anybody.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last thing you said. Sorry. What was
Oh
the
yeah,
last?
I'm saying that, like, that inauthenticity of like being nice, rather than just being exactly how you feel and honest. It puts the energy out that is deception or a lie. When you're honest with that, you know, I don't like that you're doing this thing. Even if it's emotional, you give somebody a dirty look. It's like, people love that more than if you're like, oh yeah, it's okay, like passive aggressive. Like one of my friends, like she greatly respects me for my psychic work because she came to me, and I'm not going to disclose any names here, but she came to me and she's like, I want to talk with my grandpa, and he passed away, and I want to know if he's in heaven or whatever. And I tuned in and I got the honest answer, and this is why I'm a professional psychic and not anything other than that. They said, look, your ancestors and your guides that are in the heavenly realms are saying, hey, your grandpa was involved with some dark magic, and he's actually going through hell, not permanently, but he's going through hell realms, lower realms, to refine himself and to get back to reincarnation and back to learning about why we you shouldn't practice these dark arts and stuff like that. And she was like, you know what, I knew that. I had visions of dreams and that, and I have so much respect for you for not being a nice guy. You know, a nice guy would have gone, oh yeah, he's a happy, he's lovely. This is like, people think the story is hilarious. I'm like, your grandpa's in hell, girl. Like, so sorry.
Well, you told her what you felt, so that was good. Yeah, I think there's a misconception with the light path, you know. For one, my teacher always said, you know, God said, let there be light. So to me, it's like kind of egotistically funny. You guys can all be light workers. That's fine. I'll be a sound worker because God said, let there be light. Showing the power of sound to move and create energy is more powerful than light workers. So everyone should be striving to be a sound worker. And it's proven when you emit energy out of your palm, that is sound therapy in medical Qigong. Your body emits about 10 ohms of energy out of your body. That's considered sound therapy. You only emit a light out of your third eye. So when we do anything like this, we're emitting sound therapy out of our hands, and we emit light, you know, to envelop our patient and things like that out of our third eye. So like, because that's, you know, the power of your voice, the power of your vibration is the sound, the power of your thoughts is considered sound. So that's what's really creating things, is the power of sound. You know, the universe is basically the sound frequency. Like everything is like vibrating like sound quality. This cup is vibrating like a sound quality, and that's what gives it the structure. And so, you know, the things that we say and we think and we vibrate that we're around, that's what we end up oscillating like, you know, ourselves. So when we're around those good people and those inspiring people, when we eat good food, it all just basically turns into vibration at the end of it. Thinking good thoughts when you're eating, you know, all these things, or drinking water, these are all important because now you're fueling your body and you're putting in the true energy is the frequency within the water of any, because even dehydrated food still has water in it per se. So it's the water molecules that, you know, create those crystalline structures that then go into your body. So everything comes from sound, or, you know, what we say and what we think. And that's how I see it. You know, just to, when we learn from Dashi, the silent blessing is the most powerful, because if I tell someone they're beautiful, then their ego gets involved, and, you know, oh, but is it the word beautiful, or is it really this vibration that's coming into the body? So if I think that, you know, he said silent blessings, if you want the most, you know, kind of control or influence, then as you go into a room and you look at someone and you just say in your head, you're really beautiful, that's still a vibration quality that they pick up, and then they go, ooh, but they don't hear it. So then they just like, you know what? I don't know what it is about you, but I really like you, you know, because they're feeling these vibrations coming off your body. But since you didn't say it, you didn't get their ego involved. And so that's when you're around high level masters. That's why it feels so good, because they're doing these blessings for you. They're thinking good things about you, you know, and then you just like, you know, I like to be around your presence because, you know, there's something there. So I always thought that this was really cool for my teacher. And he said, the spiritual warrior is the middle path. It's not the light or the dark. It's the center line of the yin and yang, because when you're in the center line, you're the most observant. You can check out the light, you can check out the dark, and you're only going to react when reaction is crucial. So you just stay in the center line balance. But to be a light worker, you know, over on the light side, to me, that's like a misnomer. Then it's like, you know, then it's like all the, you know, people that do that sometimes, then those are like, you know, what we kind of jokingly call foo-foos, that the world is all light and all good. And the truth is it's not. You know, like my teacher used to say when he heard that, he's like, walk down my neighborhood in South Central California. You know, the world is not all good. The world has got dark and it's got bad. It's never going to be pure light. Never. That would be imbalance in the universe. So we as spiritual warriors just try to stay in the middle. This is the best place to be, is in the middle path. And so that's, to me, even that is what Taoism really is. It's the line down the middle to stay balanced and not to, you know, choose sides. And that's same thing today, right? Not to choose sides of politics and things like that, you know. And even if you had two friends that battled, you wouldn't want to choose a side. You try to negotiate and be in the middle. And so we're always trying to really stay in the middle, more than we're trying to be like light workers or, you know, too fluffy, too light.
Yeah, and that's such a powerful point, because it also has to do with sexism. You know, it's like we're coming out of the Middle Ages, which everybody knows to be a violent patriarchy. And there's this like, oh, the darkness is so bad, oh, the darkness is so bad, oh, the light, oh, the heavenly male creator. And it's like, come on, the creator of the universe is a mixture of both genders, not just one masculine dude. But that sexism, if you truly understand gender as we do, as people who gravitate towards Taoism understand truly gender, you have yin, which is dark and cool and cold and watery and earthy and physical and structure. And then you have the masculine, which is the light and the air and the more thought-oriented rather than intuitive. And you could look at our society, how sexist it is from that point against the feminine, which we're transforming now. And now the feminine is rising and holding the Kali skulls of the of the dead patriarchs, where we're like you and I talking about. It's not all fluffy light world. You're going into the body and doing the shadow work and going into the ancestral lineage and seeing the darkness of your ancestral line, seeing the reality of the global karma, and not being like, oh, I'm gonna be Mother Teresa and feed everybody in the world. And like, I love Indians because they're like, yo, if that person's suffering so hardcore, you can help out if you want, but like, they're suffering because they made somebody else suffer. And I would tell you, some people don't believe in karma. I've seen karma with every fiber of my being.
Oh,
Personally, with past lives of being a very violent warlord in China and Japan and crusader and all of these things, Native American, Apache warrior, Mohawk warrior, like that violence manifests in karma, in emotional violence from other people, or social violence, may not be physical violence. So I'm like, I see the world, and as a psychic as well, being able to have access to people's past lives with the Akashic records, is I see somebody in their suffering, I help them, guide them to the better karma if I can. But some people are like really in it, and I'm like, oh man, this is just your cycle all over again. This has nothing to do with oh, woe is me, oh, the global this, oh, the president that. It's you did wrong to another, and now you feel like you're getting wrong done to you. But it's not so black and white like that, because I was a warrior in past lives because I enjoyed it. Now I'm at the point where like, oh, I don't want to fight anymore. I want to be peaceful. And then, okay, so you got to change your karma, because karma is the universe loving you. They're like, oh, okay, you made that decision. You obviously love that decision in some way. You're interested in it. You want to learn about it. So we'll give you more karma about that. So like, if somebody's doing anything, good, bad, happy or sad, they're choosing that. So life is like this unlimited, abundant game that says, okay, so we'll give you more of that. You punch somebody in the face, and we'll bring you somebody that wants to fight you. You plant a seed and you plant a garden. Okay, we'll bring you people and land that wants to be nourished, and seeds that want to be grown. Everything you do karmically comes back to you, and people need to learn that, because it's like, or else you're just lost. So you're like, I wonder why this is happening to me. Like, I don't know, maybe because you made it happen to somebody else.
We use a thing called the 3 questions in medical Qigong to deal with clients. And I always joke because I never learned this to the master's class. I was like, we should have learned this at the beginning. But the 3 questions are, is it good for me? Is it good for them? Is it good for the world? And so if you get a no on any end of those and if you're intuitive, then that will come really quickly. And so then after I learned that, then, because I took on clients that were really heavy and that they weren't ready for change. And if I would have had this tool, it seems very simple, but very powerful. Is it good for me? No. Okay. Then I'd be like, okay, I can't do a treatment on you. Maybe like, can I teach them Qigong? Is it good for me? Yeah. Is it good for them? Yeah. Is it good for the world? Yeah. Okay. I could show you some Qigong, but I'm not taking on any new clients right now as far as my medical Qigong treatments. Or even, can I teach them Qigong? Or, the one good thing I can do now is I couldn't do before is I get to kind of pick my clients out a lot better because I get a lot of people that call me and I'll just look at the message or, if I just get like an inclination that I just don't want to deal with that personality type or anything, I can do that now. As where you have a facility and you have an open class and everyone gets to come in, you don't get to control who comes in. But, when I worked with my clients later, once I learned those 3 questions, then I started to use that and I got no a lot. And then it would seem like somewhere like, like it would come around and then I'd hear something about that person and be like, good thing I didn't take that person on as a client because that was just going to give me a lot of, mental anguish. They were just going to take my energy, not follow my recommendations and these things. And so these questions are really important to, these, again, that's what I love about medical Qigong from the college is they have all these little types of little tools. They have the command statement that you can do too, which is a really good one. Excuse me. The command statement is you say it after every day. You say, any vows, commitments, or contracts that no longer serve me are dissolved and resolved into the light. So these vows, commitments, or contracts, either spoken or non-spoken, are like little energetic pulls on your body all the time. So for an example, when you get your driver's license, you sign that as a contract saying that you wouldn't break the speed limit. So if every day you drive, you go over the speed limit, you're breaking a little contract that you committed to. So maybe that's only one little pinhole draining your energy. But if you have enough of these small little contracts of energy on your body, then they can hold you like in these placements, or they won't allow you to, to move forward in your life. So like we say these command statements and clap, and once these dissolve, or like we cut the chakra gates, the 12 chakra gates from our patients and ourselves, and we return the energy through all timelines and dimensions. The medical Qigong has a lot of these parameters to deal with clients. And so then, you don't take on any of the energies. You don't take on clients that are not going to listen to you or follow your directions, or, frankly, just really not ready to, they want to come to you because they see that, you're Oracle Owen and they want to be like you, but they're really not ready. They haven't done the work. They want to jump from where they're at to all the way to be like, like Owen. And that they need to go through school and they need to do all this. And so like you can say, well, hey, I could, like you said, not to be nice, to be truthful, say, what you really need to come to my Qigong classes for 10 weeks, then you'll be ready for a treatment. That might sound harsh to them, but that's like the truth. Like, I'm not being nice. I'm being kind. I like how you put that, so the more truthful we are with ourselves and our clients, the more service that we can we don't take a lot of feel good clients, but no one's getting results. We take on clients that we can really get results to and help. And that's what I like now. Like, the people that come and train with me at my own house, like when they leave, like, and I see them like go through these 10-week courses, like you said, 10 weeks, that's because that's what I found. I found like 20 weeks was needed in the group classes, but 10 weeks, if you're diligent, you practice on your own, you read the material, you come every week, that's a good start. 10 weeks is a great start. So now that's all my training courses are 10 or 11 or 12 weeks just to, get that first initial. And then some people will just, that's all they need. They weren't really going to be lifers in Qigong. They're just looky-loos. But then enough of those, then the other people that get through that 10 weeks, then those are the ones like, yeah, this really gave me some true benefit. So I don't do any single classes anymore. It's like you either buy a package or go train with someone else. Because I don't want to start with someone for 2 weeks and they drop out and say, Qigong don't work. No, it works, but you got to give it at least 10 weeks. Really, it was 100 days traditionally. 100 days in a row was the traditional Qigong getting results, and now can people even do 100 days in a row? No, they do maybe 100 days once a week, but every day in a row, that would be even harder. So this is just, some of the stuff that I found is dealing with patients and setting those parameters and being really truthful and honest to them, not trying to make them feel good, but being, what they need to hear. And they might not like it when you hear it, like, oh man, then they go, and they're cussing you out in their head, but then they go home later and go, damn, Owen was right. He was right. JC was right, about that, about grandpa, or, you didn't make up something to make her feel good. You told her the truth. And so I like what you're saying and what you're doing. So where are you at? Where are you located at now?
Yeah, so right now at the moment, I'm super gracious to be at this retreat center space called Vita Lotus in Panama. And in February, I'll be
Panama?
coming to Colorado.
Did you say you were in Panama? I didn't hear where you said you were at.
What's that?
Where did you say you were at again?
Right now I'm in Panama.
Panama, okay, cool.
Beautiful mountain retreat called Vita Lotus, and can't say enough good things about Michael Ducharme, the owner, and the sacred land here. And it's really a special place for healing. And then when I come back to the United States on this great adventure, I went to Costa Rica, then to Panama, and now I'm coming back to Colorado, and it feels like a beautiful homecoming. I feel like I've gathered all those sacred materials for the nest, and I could finally nest down and connected people like yourself, fantastic masters of the art. And I would love to talk all day, but we got to kind of finish it up. But I know I will talk with you.
2 hours, yeah.
Just finish up kind of, and of course, we'll switch it over to you to have your finishing point as well as finish it up with there are true masters in your life. And they may not look like some Chinese dude with a long beard and gray hair. It might be some kid even. It might be some your aunt or your friend's mom or that lady in the organic supermarket. Like every single person is royal. Every single person is the king and queen of something. And that's the power of purpose. When you have your purpose and you're good at that purpose and you discipline yourself to become a master of that purpose, you are the king or queen of that art. So everyone who's watching this, find some sort of guru, find some sort of master. And I'm not saying go to their feet and go, oh, please, great master, blah, 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 and like dip your head down in the dirt, in the puddles. What I'm saying is find people of the profession, of the art that is aligned with your purpose. And if you don't know your purpose, first you got to go see a psychic or do some Qigong just to figure out that purpose.
Look up the life purpose exercise, yeah.
Yeah, get that purpose first and foremost. And then tune into the heart and say, okay, who can teach me this? Who can profoundly elevate me to that next level? Because we've all been at that stage where awkward teenage years, you have no idea how to survive in this uber competitive world where there's sorcerers of all different kinds throwing power around, and people who are 50 years old who already have a multi-million-dollar company running stuff for their families, been running stuff for centuries. And so there's established structure, and people are struggling And some people carry that awkwardness into their 20s and 30s and 40s. Some people die with that. I'm saying, hey, you are a king and queen of your purpose. Get into your heart. Get somebody to help you connect with that heart, heal that heart. Power of Qigong, healing that heart. And then get yourself a teacher. In India, they say that guru is even above God, because the guru can help you heal and guide you to source or oneness or that.
I just heard that gu is darkness and ru is dispeller. So a guru is the dispeller of darkness. Or you look at darkness like ignorance. And so a guru, displaces or dispels your ignorance, your darkness in your life. I just read that recently. I thought that was really cool, because it reminds me of the spiritual warrior. Sometimes people don't like the warrior side of it, but the warrior side is that, we're going to war for our spirits and our energy. And we are in a battle right now with that, with whoever it may be, whether it's ourselves or outside influences. And so we're spiritual warriors. We're trying to be these gurus, and yes, finding the right teacher, spend as much time you need, because that is the most important. You can get there, but it's very hard by yourself. And when I've seen people try to get there without a teacher, they'll rise to certain levels, but then since they don't have a form or foundation, that's it. They'll blow away in the clouds. So when you get a teacher, you get a foundation, and the slower the process, it's like a pyramid. The longer the foundation lasts for thousands of years, the longer you go out this way. And when people try to go up this way too quickly, they rise quickly, but then they're like they're a tower that gets blown over very easily. So would be my final message, is to find a good teacher, watch things like what you're doing, your podcast, educate yourself, get inspired. I appreciate that. You had Gary Poley on there yesterday, and one of my students is really, really good friends with him and travels with him and his wife. And they actually go up to, I think it's Nepal, and they do his retreats, and they work with those monks up there. And she makes malas and she sends them with him. So, and I had him over at my school one time for a workshop, and he taught us some swimming dragon qigong, and I've learned from him. And so you're doing the right thing, man. You're spreading the knowledge, and you're getting the good people on there. So make sure you keep me informed of who's on your podcast and how I can watch, because I'll definitely want to check out some of your podcasts moving forward.
I appreciate you so much, brother. It's been excellent connecting with you. Xie. I just learned this Chinese tea tactic from Michael Ducharme, the owner of Vita Lotus. He said that in China, if you go like this means like you're the king, you're the queen. So as you have a tea ceremony, you go like this, it's like you're the man, you're the woman, you're the royalty. So and everyone who's watching this, elevate your work, cut out all the BS. Like the nest, like JC and I were saying, get yourself on that quest, flight out of that nest. And just so much love to you. Thank you so much for watching this. I appreciate you all greatly. Thank you so much, JC, for being on this show. And I'd love to connect deeper, cultivate that friendship a bit more. And I'll be close by. I got
All right.
friend Winston's in and around Nevada area a lot. So we'll link up.
Let me know when you're coming out. We'll go out to nature and do some qigong.
Absolutely. Okay, peace out, everybody.
All right, man. Have a great day.